Welcome students for the session 9. So in this session we are going to study the debugging of the YAML files. So after the completion of this course we will be able to apply the working knowledge of the MATLAB package to simulate and solve the electronic circuits and their applications. The objectives of this session is introduction, debugging process, preparing for debugging, setting the breakpoints, running with the breakpoints, examining the values, correcting and ending debugging, and correcting the YAML files. Introduction. This section introduces general techniques for finding errors in the YAML file. Debugging is a process by which you isolate and fix the errors in your program or code. Debugging helps to correct two kinds of errors. Syntax errors. For example, you have not written the parenthesis or there is a misspelling a function name, then you get a syntax error. Runtime errors. Runtime errors are usually apparent and difficult to track down. They produce the unexpected results. So already you have come across these syntax errors when you are executing the programs. You may have left the parenthesis or you have written a wrong spelling of some function name, right? Then it gives the syntax errors there only. How the debugging process have to be carried out. YAML files can be debugged by using the editor or the debugger as well as using the debugging functions from the command window. The debugging process consists of preparing for debugging, setting the breakpoints, running an YAML file with the breakpoints, stepping through an YAML file, examining the values, correcting the problems, ending the debugging. So now we will see one by one. Preparing for a debugging. The editor or the debugger is used for the debugging. The following steps are used to prepare for the debugging. The file you want to debug has to be opened. Open it, the file. Save the changes. Make sure the file to run and any file it calls are in the directories that are on the search bar. Setting the breakpoints. Set the breakpoints to pause the execution of the function so that the problem is identified. In the program, you can set the breakpoints. There, the execution will get paused and then you can identify the problem. Why the program or the code is not properly working there. There are three basic types of the breakpoints we can add in our program or the code. The first one is a standard breakpoint which stops at a specified line. You can set a breakpoint, then the program will be executed till that breakpoint. If any errors are there, you can identify those errors and then you can correct for it. You can also apply a conditional breakpoint which stops at a specified line and under the specified conditions. You can apply also the conditions to check the program or the code. An error breakpoint that stops when it produces the specified type of warning error. So, when the error comes, it stops by typing a warning called as the error. NaN or the infinity value. Breakpoints cannot be set while the MATLAB is busy, for example, running an M file. You have to use only the file for the debugging. You cannot run any other file when you are going for the debugging. This is a note you have to always keep in the mind. Running with the breakpoints. So how to run with these breakpoints? So once you set the breakpoints in the number in the program, how you are going to execute it. After setting the breakpoints, run the M file from the debugger or from the command window. You can run it from either from the editor or the debugger. Running the M file results in the following. So when you run a program or a code, you are set with the breakpoint, then the command window will change to K and this prompt, indicating that it is in the debugging mode, indicating that the MATLAB is in the debugging mode. The program pauses at the first breakpoint. That is, when you give a breakpoint, it comes up to the program is executed up to the first breakpoint and then it stops there. This means that the line will be executed when the programmer continues. If there are no errors till then the programmer can continue the execution of the programming. The pause is indicated by the green arrow. It is indicated by the green arrow. In the breakpoint, variable can be examined, step through programs and run other calling functions. You can see in the breakpoint when you apply and run that program, you can see that you can change the variables and then also you can examine the changes produced in the output, and also you can run other calling functions. Examining the values. When the program is paused, the value of any variable currently in the workspace can be examined. You can examine the values of the variables in the workspace. By now already you know that the workspace will be giving you whatever the values you are entering, it will be having a record there. Values can be examined whether a line of code has produced the unexpected result or not. So you can find the error where it is present in the code. If the result is expected, step to the next line and continue running. If you get a proper result or an expected result, then you can go to the next line. If the result is not expected, that result you are getting is wrong, then that line or the previous line contains an error. So that error has to be debugged and then again it has to be continued. When a program is run, the current workspace is shown in the stack field. Use who or whose to list the variables in the current workspace. Then you will come to know what are the different variables you have created, what are the different variables you have created with what size and the name. The first position the cursor to the left of the variable on that line. So to view the values as a data text, first you have to position the cursor to the left of the variable on that line. Its current value appears. This is called the data tip, which is like a tooltip for the data. So it comes in one certain dialog box where you can see the data there. If there is a trouble in getting the data tip to appear, click in the line and then move the cursor next to the variable. If you are not finding the data tip to appear, then click into the line and then move the cursor to the next variable. Correcting and ending debugging. While debugging, the value of a variable can be changed to see if the new value produces the expected results. While the program is paused, assign a new value to the variable in the command window, workspace browser or the array editor. You can change the values. Where you can change the values? Either in the command window or the workspace browser or in the array editor. Then continue running and stepping through the program. How to end now the debugging? After identifying a problem, end the debugging session. It is best to quit debug mode before editing an YUM file. We have to come out of the debug mode. Otherwise, unexpected results will be seen when you run the file. To end debugging, select Exit Debug Mode from the debug menu. So, in the MATLAB you can see you have got a debug menu where we have got a exit from the debug mode. You have to select the exit, the debug mode. Correcting a YUM file. To correct the errors in a YUM file, quit the debugging. Do not make any changes to the YUM file when you are in the debug mode. Make changes to the YUM file, save the file, clear the breakpoints. Run the YUM file again to be sure that it produces the expected results. So now we will see some of the exercises here. Can we save a MATLAB program while in the debugging mode? True or false? It is false. We cannot do anything during the debugging mode. To end the debugging mode, we use the dash command. Which command will be used here? So it will be used, A is the answer. Debug quit. The debug command can be used to exit from the debugging mode. This is predefined in the MATLAB. The debug commands can be run in functions, live scripts, command window, nowhere. It is C. You can run the debug commands in the command window only. The debug commands can only be run from the command window. If they are present in the user defined functions or the live scripts, the working of the function would entirely stop when any debug command is invoked while evaluation of the function. So you have to use only in the command window. To enter a value and change the course of working of a function while it is working, we use the which commands please? Debug stop, debug, keyboard or the enter. Yes, we are going to use the keyboard. To end the debugging mode, we use the dash command. We use which command? We use the A. Debug quit command is being used. What is not displayed by the workspace? Type of variable generation, standard deviation of the variable values, class of the variables, nature of the variables. What it is not going to display? It is not going to display the type of the variable generation. What type of errors are corrected in the debugging? So the answer is debugging. We can correct the syntax errors and we can correct the runtime errors. The 8th question is, while debugging, the value of a variable can be changed. Is it true or false? Yes, we can change the values to know whether we are getting the expected results. Breakpoints cannot be set while the MATLAB is running an YUM file. Is it true or false? It is true. We cannot set the breakpoints while the MATLAB is running the YUM file. The dash is used for the debugging. Editor, debuffer, workspace, command window, none of the above. It is the editor buffer is being used. Editor of the buffer is being used. So these are some of the activities you have to perform. How to set the breakpoints in the MATLAB program. What steps are used to prepare for the debugging. How to run the files after applying the breakpoints. And these are the some books where we have referred to prepare this session. Thank you, students.